What is one of the biggest things that causes divorces and how can you stop it today? Hey, Jason here, and if you've been watching the channel, you know I've been going through Joburg, showing you all the beautiful parts of it. Yesterday I was at Gold Reef Casino. It was really nice there, really beautiful. And most importantly, I've been talking about how to be successful, and I focus on three areas of life: happiness, health, and wealth. And today I want to talk about marriage, getting into marriage, and how to really start to build a successful marriage. Cause I see a lot of these different things from marriage coaches and people talking about it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, they're not talking from a perspective of someone who built a successful marriage. Like if you've been in a marriage, you built a successful marriage, you had the ups and downs. You can tell when people are just telling you something out of a book compared to telling you the truth. And so, like this morning, I was just doing some reading, and I saw nearly 2 out of 3 marriages in the United States alone will end because of, nearly two out of 3 marriages in the United States, they start in debt, meaning they have more money going, they owe more money than they have coming in, and they're going into a marriage together. And remember, a marriage, we need to really understand what a marriage is. A marriage is, if you're going and getting, doing it the traditional way, it's a contract between you, your partner, and the government. And so, do you really want to go into that type of partner trio with you and your partner being the ones that are in debt? The government's going to want their money whenever they want it. So, like, really think about that. And then on top of that, most marriages end because of finances. That was one of the top 5 reasons that marriages end, and one of the other ones was communication, which I thought was pretty interesting because both of those are 2 things that we're going to talk about in this video today. So let's go ahead and get into it. Like, really think about this. 2 out of 3 marriages are starting out in debt, meaning their foundation is shaky. And I'm not counting debt such as student loans, even having a home mortgage, just regular consumer debt. Most people, they don't know how to manage credit cards. I was one of those. I had to start learning how to do it. I didn't understand nothing about that financial system, or that it was its own language. Like, there's so many things the normal school system don't teach us. And I'm starting to really understand why they don't teach us these things. It keep us enslaved to these dumb things that we do on a daily basis. Like, most of us are walking around with slave habits and we don't realize it because we're seeing it all around us, and while there's only very few people who don't do the same stuff that the masses do. And so think about it. If you're starting a foundation of love on debt, most likely you're going to have some issues later on down the line. And most likely it's going to be sooner than later, because money is something that we all need in this world. If you want to live in a nice place, if you want to drive a car, you need to be able to put petrol in your car, gasoline. Everything we do in this physical world, it takes cash. That's the system, the barter trade system we use now. Nobody's trying to go back to bartering with cows and goats and stuff like that, especially if you're in a modern world. And, we're not equipped yet, fully integrated for the crypto world yet. So it's still a couple of years out before that becomes a mode of barter. But until then, we need cash right now, whether it's USD, rands if you're in South Africa, yen if you're in Japan. We need money. And so you don't want to start your relationship, your foundation of love, on debt. It's going to crumble. It's just going to come a day when it's just too much debt to burden, and one or both of the parties going to be like, hey, I'm done. I'm tired of this. And this is because we think love is this, we look at love as this isolated, standalone thing. Love is a ever evolving thing. Like, the person you love today may not be the person you love 20 years from now. I know for sure when Cece and I first got together, when she first started loving me, and compared to when her last day here on this earth, I was not the same man. Her love evolved as I evolved, and my love for her evolved as she evolved. So we can't keep looking at love as some stagnant thing of, oh, okay, I love this person, I'm going to love them for the rest of my life, till death do us part. No, you're not. There's going to be rough days. There's going to be days when you like looking at it and be like, damn, who are you now? And so love is going to change. Love is a state of being. However, money, finances do not change. Usually by the time you're 28, whatever your financial situation is usually going to stay within a parameter of that financial situation, because most of us don't start changing our habits around money. And so if you're going into a marriage with debt, odds are that marriage is going to be consumed with debt the whole time if it's able to stay married. So you don't want to do that. And one of the ways you don't do that is, before you get married, before you sign this contract, talk about money. Like, this is very crucial. And this is one of the things I didn't understand. Cece and I, we were operating on a level that was that much different than most people around us. Because we had open conversations, we were willing to talk about things, and I'm gonna explain here one, why talking about money is crucial, and then I'm gonna share with you one of the best ways to be able to talk about money as a couple. So because we talked about money, we started understanding, I was like, I don't know how to budget. I don't remember, my mom didn't have time to try to teach me to balance checkbooks and stuff. And she was like, her parents were immigrants. They didn't understand money either. So we both realized we didn't understand money. When we had that conversation, it released a whole lot of pressure. It was no longer pressure on me being the man of like, oh, you need to be in control of the finances. And it was no longer pressure on her like, hey, you're the woman, you need to be in control of the finances. It was like, we need to understand the finances together and see who's better at it once we understand the finances. So we started going through different programs, financial education. We started reading different books, watching different programs at night. At that time, and it was back when we were living in DeSoto. We were living in Arlington, Texas. And so we would watch Susie Orman all night. Every night we would watch her shows. And I think it came on at like midnight or something. And we would watch her shows and we would take notes, talk about it, see, okay, what are some things that we can do to apply this to our life? All of these are different things that we were doing and having conversations behind closed doors, while people wasn't privy to this. I think the only person who even knew about this was maybe my nephew Darius, when he was staying with us for a short while, because he saw a little bit of the inside of how we were working as a household. And so because we were doing that, then we started understanding a little bit better about money. Then we started budgeting more. Then we started setting financial goals. And then we started saving money. And then we started realizing, wait, we can save money to go do things that we want to do. And that's when we went on a cruise for the first time. But all of this came from us having a conversation about money. Now, if you're someone, or if you're in a relationship where, both of you are maybe a little too shy or scared to talk about money, then you need to create man, my mind just went blank for a second. You need to create just a simple word that you all can use, and it's going to neutralize the tension or anything that's going on in the room. And all it means is having a family meeting and talking about it. Cece and I, how we did it every Sunday was our family meeting. We would come to the table with our notes, what our business things are, what are the financial things, all of these different things that we had in our relationship that we would actually talk about, negotiate, see, that's something important. Is this more important to do this month, or is this more important to do? And each Sunday we would do this. If you don't have that type of relationship right now, then set up like a safe word. That's what I was looking for. And make it be a word that you do not use on a daily basis. Do not pick like, cucumber or carrot, or let's say if it's a cuss word or something. Don't use a word this person's gonna hear you say all day long, because if you use a word they're used to you hearing, when they hear that word, it's gonna become less and less reactive for them, meaning they're not gonna respond to it. They're just gonna start ignoring it. It's like the boy who cried wolf. So you wanna use a word. It don't have to be some crazy, silly word, but you want to use a word that's just not in your normal, everyday vocabulary. So when your partner hears that word, they react, and they're going into a responsive mode of like, okay, this is something serious. Let's sit down and let's talk about this. It could be the name of a book. It could be anything like that. Just pick a word, and you both agree on this word. And so then that way it neutralizes both parties, and it's like, hey, let's have a conversation. And when you start having these conversations and you start building and understanding what you want your financial situation to look like, you'll start seeing how both of you are trying to reach the same goals, but maybe looking at it from different perspectives, so you're not fighting each other. Because one of the things that I notice, most people are actually, they want the same thing in life, but they're actually fighting each other because they're not talking to each other about it. One of the biggest things that most of us get wrong on this planet is we all have our own unique experience of life. No two lives are the same. Not even two people living in the same house experience the same life. So what that means is some people don't see things a certain way as others. And once you start having these conversations, you'll start building a mastermind as a couple and start realizing, oh, okay, maybe the guy, the husband, his perspective on money comes from this standpoint. He sees it more from a business area, where the wife may see it more from a family structure. Like, however that looked, you just need to get the conversation out so you can start understanding each other's perspective and get a clear picture of how each other's thinking around money. So now, once you have a clear perspective of how each person's thinking around money, you can start building the foundation of a healthy marriage, with money being a great foundation. And this is where you start asking very simple questions to each other. How much money do you want the household to have? How do you want to live? Like, do you want to go on vacations monthly, quarterly, once a year, twice a year? What type of money makes you feel safe? How much money in the bank makes you feel safe? And start asking these questions, because once you start getting the answers to these questions, it's going to take a lot of stress off the marriage that shouldn't be there in the first place. The marriage is just between you and the person that you love and the things that you all want to do. So don't let money or these outer circumstances that we're just not talking about, and we haven't been taught to talk about these things. I can tell you, as a guy growing up as a kid, I didn't have male role models in my life. I didn't have men coming to me talking to me about money. And by the time they did, people started talking to me about money. I was pretty sure they were trying to hustle me or beg me for money. So, I had a very fucked up perspective on money and looking at money. And the way I look at it now is completely different. But it came from the beginning of having conversations with Cece about it. And then knowing that I wanted a very stable marriage financially. We started asking these questions and we started doing these things. And so I hope you get some value from this. If you're in a marriage, or if you're looking to get married, take some of this advice. Like, this is why I'm talking about some of this stuff now, to show people, like, the perfect marriage, the great marriage that I was able to build. We built it together, and it was because we designed it. We took the time, we put in the hard work of having the difficult conversations, getting outside of our comfort zone. And we stopped focusing on just love, and we started focusing on what do we want as a couple. Because love is not going to be enough. You need to start knowing what you want also. Because that's how you're going to start making sure you stay happy within your relationship. So hope you got some value from this. Hit that like button, share with anyone that could use this information. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.